There is a need to check for safety by using cycle detection algorithm. An algorithm for detecting a cycle in this graph requires an order of n-square operations when n is the number of processes in the system. If no cycle exists, then the allocation of the resource will leave the system in the safe state. If a cycle is found, then the allocation will put the system in an unsafe state. In that case, process PI will have to wait for its request to be satisfied. To illustrate this algorithm, consider the resource allocation graph as shown below. Suppose that P2 and R2 although R2 is suppose that P2 request R2 although R2 is currently free, we cannot allocate it to P2 since this action will create a cycle in the graph. A cycle indicates that the system is in an unsafe state. If P1 requests R2 and P2 requests R1, then a deadlock will occur. See the figure. Now let us see Banker's algorithm. The Banker's algorithm is applicable to a resource allocation system with multiple instances of each resource type. When a new process enters the system, it must declare the maximum number of instances of each resource type that it may need. This number may not exceed the total number of resources in the system. When a user requests a set of resources, the system must determine whether the allocation of these resources will leave the system in the safe state. If it will, the resources are allocated. Otherwise, the process must wait until some other process releases enough resources. To implement the Banker's algorithm, the following data structures are used. Let n is equal to number of processes and m is equal to number of resource types available. A vector of length m indicates the number of available resources of each type. If the available j is equal to k, there are k instances of resource type rj available. Max and n x m matrix n cross m matrix defines the maximum demand of each process. If max of ij is equal to k, then process pi may request at most k instances of resource type rj. Allocation and n cross m matrix defines the number of resources of each type currently allocated to each process. If allocation I, j is equal to k, then pi is currently allocated k instances of rj. Need and n cross m matrix indicates the remaining resource need of each resource. If need I, j is equal to k, then pi may need k more instances of rj to complete its task. Need of I, j is equal to max of I, j minus allocation of I, j. Now let us see safety algorithm. The algorithm for finding out whether or not a system is in a safe state. This algorithm can be described as follows. See the algorithm. Let work and finish the vectors of length m and m and n respectively. Initialize work is equal to I label, finish I is equal to false for I is equal to 0 to n minus 1. Second, find an index I such that both finish of I is equal to false. Need I is lesser than or equal to work. If no such I exists, go to the step 4. Third one, work is equal to work plus allocation. Finish of I is equal to true, go to the step 2. If finish of I is equal to true for all I, then the system is in the safe state. This algorithm may require an order of m into m cross n square operations to determine whether a state is safe. Resource request algorithm. The algorithm for determining whether request can be safely granted. Let request I be the request vector for the process pi. If the request I of j is equal to k, then process pi wants k instances of resource type rj. When a request for resource is made by the process pi, the following actions are taken. First, the request I is lesser than or equal to need I, go to the step 2. Otherwise, raise error condition since the process has exceeded its maximum claim. If request I is less than or equal to a lesser than or equal to available, go to step 3. Otherwise, pi must wait since resources are not available. Step 3, we have the system pretend to allocate requested resources to pi by modifying the state as follows. Available is equal to available minus request. Allocation I is equal to allocation I plus request. Need I is equal to need I minus request I. If safe, the resources are allocated to PI. If unsafe, PI must wait and the old resource allocation state is restored. Example, consider a system with 5 processes P0 through P4 and the 3 resource types A, B, C. Resource type A has 10 instances, resource type B has 5 instances, and resource type C has 7 instances. Suppose that at time T0 the following snapshot of the system has been taken. See the figure. Now let us see the content of the matrix. Need is defined to be max allocation. See the figure. The system is currently in the safe state. Indeed, the sequence P1 to P0, P1, P3, P4, P2, P0 satisfy the safety criteria. Suppose now the process P1 requests one additional instance of resource type A and 2 instances of resource type C. So request 1 is equal to 102. Decide whether this request can be immediately granted. Check that request is lesser than or equal to available, that is 102 is less than or equal to 332 belongs to true. Then pretend that this request has been fulfilled and the following new state is arrived. See the figure. Executing safety algorithm shows that sequence P13402 satisfies safety requirements. Now let us see deadlock detection. If the system does not employ either a deadlock prevention or a deadlock avoidance algorithm, then a deadlock situation may occur in this environment. The system may provide an algorithm that examines the state of the system to determine whether a deadlock has occurred, an algorithm to recover from the deadlock. Now let us say single instance of each resource type. If all resources have only a single instance, then define a deadlock detection algorithm that uses a variant of the resource allocation graph called a wait for graph. This graph is obtained from the resource allocation graph by removing the resource nodes and collapsing the appropriate edges. An edge from PI to PJ is a wait for graph, implies that process PI is waiting for the process PJ to release a resource that PI needs. An edge PI to PJ request exists in a wait for graph if and only if the corresponding resource allocation graph contains two edges PI to RQ and RQ to PI for some resource RQ. Example, in the below figure, a resource allocation graph and the corresponding wait for the graph is presented. See the figure. A deadlock exists in the system if and only if the wait for a graph contains a cycle. To detect deadlocks, the system needs to maintain the wait for a graph and periodically invoke an algorithm that searches for a cycle in the graph. An algorithm to detect a cycle in a graph requires an order of n-square operations when n is the number of vertices in the graph. Now let us see several instances of a resource type. A deadlock detection algorithm that is applicable to several instances of a resource type. The algorithm employs several time varying data structures that are similar to those used in the Banker's algorithm. Available. A vector of length m indicates the number of available resources of each type. Allocation. An n cross m matrix defines the number of resources of each type currently allocated to each process. Request. An n cross m matrix indicates the current request of each process. If request of ij equals k, then process P is requesting k more instances of resource type rj. Now let us see the algorithm. The algorithm requires an order of O of m cross n square operations to detect whether the system is in the deadlocked state. Example of detection algorithm. Consider a system with 5 processes P0 through P4 and 3 resources types A, B, C. Resource type A has 7 instances, resource type B has 2 instances, and resource type C has 6 instances. Suppose that at time T0 the following resource allocation state See the figure. After executing the algorithm, sequence P02314 will result in finish of I is equal to true for all I. Suppose now that is process P2 makes one additional request for an instance of type C. The request matrix is modified as follows. See the figure. The system is now deadlocked, and although we can reclaim the resource held by process P0, the number of available resources is not sufficient to fulfill the requests of the other processes. Thus, a deadlock exists consisting of processes P1, 2, 3 and 4. Now let us see detection algorithm usage. The detection algorithm can be invoked on two factors: how often is a deadlock likely to occur, how many processes will be affected by deadlock when it happens. If deadlocks occur frequently, then the detection algorithm should be invoked frequently. The resources allocated to deadlocked processes will be idle until the deadlock can be broken. If detection algorithm is invoked arbitrarily, there may be many cycles in the resource graph, and so we would not be able to tell which of the many deadlocked processes caused the deadlock. Now let us say recovery from deadlock. The system recovers from the deadlock automatically. There are two options for breaking a deadlock. One is simply to abort one or more processes to break the circular wait. The other is to preempt some resources from one or more of the deadlocked processes. Process termination. To eliminate deadlocks by aborting a process, use one of the two methods. In both methods, the system reclaims all resources allocated to the terminated process. First is abort all deadlocked processes. This method clearly will break the deadlock cycle, but at great expense. The deadlocked processes may have computed for a long time, and the result of these partial computations must be discarded and probably will have to be recomputed later. Second one is abort one process at a time until the deadlock cycle is eliminated. This method incurs considerable overhead, since after each process is aborted, a deadlock detection algorithm must be invoked to determine whether any processes are still deadlocked. If the partial termination method is used, then we must determine which deadlocked processes should be terminated. Many factors may affect which process is chosen, including what the priority of the process is, how long the process has computed, and how much longer the process will compute before completing its designated task, how many and what types of the resources the process has used, how many more resources the process needs in order to complete, how many processes will need to be terminated, whether the process is interactive or batch. Now let us see resource preemption. To eliminate deadlocks using resource preemption, we successfully preempt some resources from processes and give these resources to other processes until the deadlock cycle is broken. If preemption is required to deal with deadlocks, then three issues need to be addressed. First, selecting a victim. Which resources and which processes are to be preempted. As in process termination, we must determine the order of the preemption to minimize cost. Cost factors may include such parameters as the number of resources a deadlocked process is holding and the amount of time the process has thus far consumed during its execution. Second is rollback. If we preempt a resource from a process, what should be done with that process? Clearly, it cannot continue with its normal execution. It is missing some needed resource. We must roll back the process to some safe state and restart it from that state. Since it is difficult to determine what a safe state is, the simplest solution is a total rollback about the process and then restart. Third one is starvation. How do we ensure that starvation will not occur? That is, how can we guarantee that resources will not always be preempted from the same process? Now let us see memory management. Main memory management strategies. Every program to be executed must be in memory. The instruction must be fetched from memory before it is executed. In multitasking OS, memory management is complex because as processes are swapped in and out of the CPU, their code and data must be swapped in and out of the memory. Now let us see basic hardware. Main memory, cache and CPU registers in the processors are the only storage spaces that CPU can access directly. The program and the data must be bought into the memory from the disk for the process to run. Each process has a separate memory space and must access only this range of the legal addresses. Protection of memory is required to ensure correct operation. This prevention is provided by hardware implementation. Two registers are used, a base register and a limit register. The base register holds the smallest legal physical memory address. The limit register specifies the size of the range. For example, the base register holds the smallest legal physical memory address. The limit register specifies the size of the range. For example, if the base register holds 30040 and the limit register is 120900, then the program can legally access all addresses from 300040 through 4 to 0940 inclusive. See the figure. The base and the limit registers can be loaded only by the operating system, which uses a special privileged instruction. Since privileged instructions can be executed only in the kernel mode, only the operating system can load the base and the limit registers.